Hello, I'm Carrie. This is Carrie's 8th video. Currently, there are 120 fans. No matter how many people watch or how many people subscribe, Carrie will keep updating and share the wonderful movies to you. Today, I'm going to narrate a movie, Pet, with Pervert vs. Pervert. You can guess how the goddess escaped from the locked dog cage. After escaping, how she abused the hero, Seth. Spoiler ahead. Watch out and take care. The main character, Seth, was an employee of a pet store and his daily job was to feed the store's pets. With the mediocre looks, his life was monotonous and boring. Although he wanted to have a pet of his own, he had to live in a cheap apartment where pets were not allowed because of his meager salary. However, one day, everything was changed. He was on his way home on the bus when he met Holly, the goddess of his school days. Excited, Seth, eager to break the monotony of life, muster up the courage to talk to her. But Holly has no impression of him at all. After a conversation, she squeezed out an awkward and polite smile to Seth and left in a hurry. The frustrated Seth is left, looking forlornly at her figure. Seth did not give up and he used social networking sites to find more information about Holly. He learned that Holly was just broke up and was working as a waitress in a restaurant. Then he asked his colleague Jack for some experience in chasing girls. Jack told him to be very confident and funny in front of girls and to pretend he was good at everything. So, Seth wrote it down and combined it with Holly's information on the internet. He bought 2 tickets to the concert that Holly always wanted, wore another cheap suit and went to the restaurant where Holly worked. He started to pursue her. However, Holly was uninterested in him and even a little annoyed by his lame conversation. Impatiently, Holly stated that she already had a boyfriend, which frustrated Seth once again. But Seth remained hopeful and began to follow Holly every day. But Holly noticed that, after returning home, she complained to her roommate that was recently pestered by a pervert. Her roommate reassured her, "You shouldn't be so paranoid all the time." At that moment, Holly's ex-boyfriend called. She was a little elated and pressed the answer button. The roommate whispered to Holly, "Is he drunk?" Holly replied in a whisper, "A little." Her boyfriend keenly heard the conversation and asked Holly, "Who are you talking to? Who do you live with?" Holly held back her elation and told her ex-boyfriend in a cold tone, "Stop pestering me." Then she hanged up the phone. On the other hand, Seth ordered a large bouquet of flowers for Holly. But Holly thought the flowers were from her ex-boyfriend and was delighted. So, she came to the bar where her ex-boyfriend worked at night and hinted that she can get back together with him. Seth, who followed her, was upset to see them talking. While she was outside smoking, Seth found her and blocked the door. Seth angrily said that the flowers are from him and insisted on having a chat with Holly. Holly was upset that Seth is pestering her and thinks he is a pervert. Holly pushed him away and was about to leave. Then they started to fight. Then Holly's ex-boyfriend immediately comes to rescue her. He hit Seth, threw him out, and left with Holly. Seth, who was beaten and bruised, noticed that when he was fighting, Holly dropped her diary to the ground. He quickly picked it up like a treasure. On the other hand, Holly returned home. With panics, Holly told her roommate that she had lost her portable diary, which may lead to big trouble. Seth, who got Holly's diary, discovered another side of her. The seed of perversion in his heart slowly began to germinate. He found an abandoned storage room in the basement of the pet store and purchased tools. Through online learning, he built a solid pet cage and placed it in the abandoned storage room. He prepared some anesthetic drugs and injections. Then he mixed the dose. He began to follow Holly every day. On a dark and windy night, Seth felt the time is right. He entered Holly's home through the window. When Holly finished the shower and goes to bed, he climbed the bed. Then he sticked a tube of anesthetic into Holly's body and kidnapped her. Seth then slipped Holly into the box and successfully tricked colleague Jack into transporting Holly to the abandoned storage room in the basement of the pet store. Strangely, Holly's roommate had no idea what was happening. Holly woke up from the darkness and suddenly found herself locked in a cage with spiders crawling on her body. She immediately screamed in horror and shouts for help. Her cries, however, were drowned out by the barking of the pet dogs in the kennels above. No one could hear her voice. The next day, Seth came to see her with the snack. He also thoughtfully prepared a potty for her. Holly immediately angrily and loudly cursed him pervert. Seth, who had a lot of experience in pet training, said coldly, "If you're so stubborn, I'll starve you for 2 days." Then he took away the food and left. After a day passed, Seth came to the underground abandoned storage room. Holly has been starved almost unconscious and powerless. Seth fed her some water and brought her some food. Losing her stubbornness and dignity, Holly grabbed Seth by his trouser and begged him not to leave. But Seth said coldly, "You need to understand our relationship, now you are my pet. Pets cannot pull the master's pants." Then he left. After Seth left, Holly sat shakily in the cage with her legs wrapped around her. She realized that she might be trapped in the cage forever. At that moment, her roommate appeared outside the cage. It turned out that this roommate was her imagination, not a real one. Her imaginary roommate said, "You can only obey his orders now. If one day he gets tired of you and stops coming over, you'll starve to death here. So, you have to try desperately to please him." At this point, Holly understood that she had lost her freedom but still had an unyielding heart. She growled, "Shut up." Her roommate's vision disappeared. After a few days, Holly's mentality gradually changed. She ate, lived and peed in her cage every day. On that day, while she was urinating, a mouse crawled onto her foot. She was so frightened that she screamed and then viciously stomped the mouse into mush. On this day, Seth came to visit Holly. Holly asked him, "Are you going to humiliate me or kill me?" Seth replied, "No, I'm going to reform you, I'm going to save you." Then he took out Holly's diary and said, "I used to be an insignificant ordinary man while you were a goddess. Until I learned your biggest secret. Since then, my life has a meaning. Because I'm not like everyone else. Because I know another side of you that no one knows. You said in your diary that love is just a physical reaction. But I think that love is a sacrifice." Seth found Holly's most horrific secret in her diary. Every word recorded on it was shocking and unsettling. Holly was devastated when her ex-boyfriend cheated on her with her roommate. She angrily drove her roommate to talk to her ex-boyfriend. But there was a car accident on the way. She then took advantage of the confusion to kill her roommate. From then on, she became crazy, obsessed with killing. She started killing people at random. At first Seth couldn't believe it was true and followed her. Until Seth witnessed her at nightfall, transformed into a bloodthirsty death, brutally killing one innocent passerby after another. So, Seth decided to save her from falling into madness and stop any more innocent people from being hurt. He found this storage room and built this cage. He wanted to tame her in the same way that he tamed his pets and make her change. Learning that Seth knew all her secrets, Holly began to look contrite. She pleaded, "I do need to be saved, you can start right now." Seth looked at Holly in the cage and said seriously, "I will." Then turned off the light and left. After Seth left, Holly's roommate's vision reappeared, exclaiming, "Nice show." Holly said in a good mood, "I need to convince him that he can save me." It turns out Holly had just begun to have her own plan in mind. She was going to make Seth understand who was pet. From that day on, Seth noticed that Holly wasn't panicking and started talking to him. But all she talked about was how she felt when she killed someone. Holly gleefully told Seth, "Don't think you know me, and don't fall in love with me." Seth, however, pulled out her diary. He stated that he was the only one in the world who knows her best. Holly, however, began to hurt herself by frantically banging on the cage and warned him, "Tomorrow, you'll find my body here." As she expected, Seth's face showed a scared look and some panic. She licked the blood from her face and said, "If I die here, the police will find you, you'll die too. So, our fates are tied together. Now, I am the one in control of you." The frightened Seth slammed the door in anger and decided to starve her for 2 more days in order to show her who was the master. 2 days passed, and Seth came into the abandoned storage room and coldly dropped off 2 bags of coffee for Holly. As he ate the apples, he told her, "This is your food," and then was about to leave. But Holly stopped him, her face softening, and said, "I had a dream yesterday and it was just the 2 of us. We live in an underwater house, with Happy and Sweet." Softened by this, Seth went to buy her some food. On the other hand, the recent strange state of Seth has made his colleague Jack suspicious. Jack secretly followed him to the abandoned storage room. After he left, Jack, who was hiding in the darkness, immediately went in and found the delicate girl imprisoned in a cage. As soon as Holly saw Jack, she told him not to call the police and to find tools to break the chains and let her out. Jack clumsily began to open the lock. At the same time, after buying food back, Seth found the abandoned storage room seemed to have been broken into. He immediately became nervous. He grabbed a short stick and cautiously went inside. Jack, who had his back to the door and was opening the lock, had no idea that Seth had entered. Holly, on the other hand, had saw Seth, but she did not say anything to warn. A subtle smile appeared on her face. Suddenly, she held Jack's hand and said, "Do you know what true love is? True love is sacrificing everything for the one you love." Jack looked at Holly with a bewildered face, not knowing what she was talking about. And Seth, who had grasped the meaning, had quietly walked up behind Jack and smashed him hard on the back of the head. Jack turned around and they wrestled with each other. Seth, a slight man, could not beat Jack. At the critical moment of their fight, Holly in the cage stretched out her foot and tripped Jack. Jack's fat body collapsed on the blade. Seth froze in place, not knowing what to do. Holly advised him with a serious look on her face, go, pick up that brick and kill Jack. Seth trembled and refused repeatedly, yet Holly said with deep emotion, I cannot lose you. So, Seth immediately picked up the brick. Followed her instructions, Seth killed Jack completely and utterly. Looking at the miserable state of his colleague in front of him, Seth was stunned. Holly in the cage, however, calmly taught him what to do. He followed Holly's instructions, fed Jack's body to his pet dog, and burned the clothes. Then he reported to his boss and pretended that Jack was missing. Finally, he threw Jack's teeth into the city's sewer pipes. In this way, step by step, as Holly said, Seth successfully completed the destruction of the body and also successfully controlled by Holly. What Holly had to do was lock this man who was already on the verge of collapse in the prison of his own mind. Train him as her own pet. She told Seth, who couldn't believe he had killed someone, don't fool yourself, this is the truest side of your own heart. You love me because we are the same kind of person, accept your true self. Then she held Seth's hand and put it on her face. Holly touched his hand with a gentle look. Moving Seth's hand down again, she said teasingly, help me. Seth immediately drew his hand back. Holly's expression was instantly filled with disappointment. I thought you loved me, she said. And then fell to ground, ignoring Seth. Seth left in a panic. After that day, Holly began to ignore him. She didn't say a word, didn't eat, and refused all communication with him. Seth began to panic and gradually developed mental problems. His moods became more and more violent. Finally, one day, Holly told him, it's over, you can't help me. You put me in a cage, that's not love, that's possession. Seth said, I can't put you out. Holly said despondently, I don't want you to put me out, I just want a proof that you love me. Seth immediately asked, how do you want me to prove it? Holly told Seth, one finger, I want one of your fingers to keep me company. Seth refused, horrified, saying it was impossible. Holly didn't look at him, tears of sadness falling from her clear eyes. She choked out, I thought you really loved me, I thought there would be a man in this world who would be just like me to keep me company. You can go and don't come back. Seth didn't know what to say or do, so he left the abandoned storage room. He had just come out of the basement when he saw his boss talking to the police, and it seemed that Jack's death had been discovered. The police had approached him to investigate at the beginning. He went back to the bathroom and looked at himself in the mirror. He felt that he was ordinary and unimpressive. It was Holly's appearance that gave meaning to his life. In a sense, it was Holly who saved him and gave him a splash of color in his ordinary life. But now, Holly was leaving him. And his life had turned into a mess. After the consideration, Seth went back to the abandoned storage room. He asked to Holly in the cage, is it true that if I give you my finger, you believe I love you? Holly said seriously, yes. Then, Seth squatted next to the cage and sliced off a finger. Watching the blood gushing out and Seth's face contorted because of the pain, Holly smiled. She picked up the knife on the ground, put it against her neck, and with a fierce expression she said to Seth, let me out or I'll kill myself. Now you've lost a finger, and if you don't listen to me, I'll make you lose me again. Seth, who was already completely controlled by Holly, endured the pain and opened the cage, releasing her. Then Holly put Seth against the wall. She said with tenderness in her eyes, you saved me, and I do love you. Then Holly kissed him deeply on the lips. After a brief period of sweetness, Holly had a sinister look in her eyes again. On the other side, Holly had reunited with her ex-boyfriend and was living happily together. But one day, she inadvertently found out the affair between her boyfriend and another girl. Her expression instantly became serious. But she didn't get angry and didn't question her boyfriend. Instead, she went out by herself to an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts. There was a steel cage in the warehouse. Inside the cage was a bloody man. As soon as he heard Holly came, he hurriedly stretched out his hand with only 3 fingers left to pull her. The person in the cage was Seth. It turns out that after Holly regained her freedom, she locked him in a cage and put him in this warehouse. Every time her boyfriend cheated on her and her heart filled with brutal desire, she would come here to find Seth to vent. Seth's appearance was ruined. Not only was he blind, but he was also mutilated. He was like a pet, intimately begging for Holly's affection. The end. The Pet is a typical movie with pervert versus pervert. In the film, Holly is unwilling to accept Seth's love, we can all understand. Because in many cases, unwillingness is dislike. It is not that if you are good to me, I will love you. However, Holly could never break up with her ex-boyfriend who had repeatedly been unfaithful, making me very confused. So, in a relationship, is being tolerant all the time the best option to solve the problem? I'm looking forward to seeing your comments in the comments section. Alright, that's all for the video. Subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this. Thanks for your support, see you next time.